folks. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you might be. You're here with Regarding Men, and I'm with my two usual compatriots, Paul Elam and Janice Fiamingo. And tonight, we're going to talk about how we hold men in high regard, which is something that the person we're going to talk about tonight doesn't do very well. Indeed not. We're going to talk about, I think her name is Tomi Lahren, who is a young woman. I think she's 28 or 29 years old, who's a conservative talk show host, and she's on TV and does thises and that's, and she's very cute. This is a very attractive young woman, which tells us what? It tells us right off the bat, okay, this is someone of privilege. I mean, guys don't, as a guy, I cannot understand what it would be like to have people want to do things for me just because of the way I look. But man, women, first off, they have the privilege because they have a vagina. But the second thing is, the more attractive they are, the more privilege they have. Oh, a lot more. Because those really attractive women draw men in who want to do for them no matter what. So that's Tomi Lahren right there. And, I've enjoyed some of the stuff she's done. I think that I've seen a couple of things she's done. I thought it was pretty good. But this one, well, she has a rant about men. And we're going to talk about that rant tonight because she really, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I think you're going to see why I say that as we go along. But she talks about how men need to change. Men need to be more like what she wants them to be. There's something wrong with men because they're not. She and her friends are special. They're very special. And daggone it, why aren't these men catering to their needs? Now, what comes to your mind when you hear some crap like that? I don't know about you. What comes to my mind is narcissism. Because that's really the bottom line of what's this all about? Well, 1, 2, 3. First off, she's saying that all women have this problem with these terrible men. Okay, that's pretty much a global sort of statement right there. But she's saying that we as women don't really have responsibility. No, that's number one. We don't have responsibility at all, right? How are you going to have a relationship if you don't take responsibility? Number two, women are fine and men need to change. Okay. And number three, women as a group are being hurt by men. And all three of these things are really just markers for a narcissistic attitude. And I think the whole spiel is kind of a narcissistic piece because this is what we've taught young women. This is what we've taught them. They are very special and they need to be treated very well. And it's not their fault. What do you guys think about all this?
Can we play a clip of her or do we have anything ready? I can't remember.
I don't think we do.
Okay.
I don't think we said it to Brian.
Okay. All right. That's okay.
But you can play her, Janice.
I could play her. Yeah.
Come on, let's see it.
Well, I think of I can't do her accent.
Go ahead.
It's not, her voice isn't that high. I think of myself as I'm an educator. I'm somebody who inspires people. And I think guys just haven't heard this from women. So I'm going to do you guys a favor and I'm going to tell you what you need to know, you boy men. I'm doing a public service announcement for you boy men because I'm not a feminist. I love men, but you men are failing yourselves. You men are not living up to your potential because you are not valuing value. And I'm going to tell you what you need to do so that you can value women like me and my friends the way we should be valued. That's kind of it.
Special people. Janice, that was fantastic.
I don't know.
Very good.
Who needs a clip when you got Janice?
It wasn't so good, but I don't actually know her that well. She's not my cup of tea really as a right-wing woman. She kind of does that. I don't know. It's sort of the Ann Coulter style, crude, tough talking, kind of deliberately offensive.
She's not nearly as sharp as Ann Coulter.
No, she's not at that intellectual level for sure. But that style, like she looks really beautiful, but she's not very beautiful in the way she presents herself. She's often, at least provocative, if not overtly offensive in the way she presents herself. But at the same time, she is drop dead gorgeous as far as I'm concerned. And well, anyway, you know, she's one of these. I'm not a feminist, but I'm a ball buster. Unless you recognize how special I am, what a princess I am, I'm not going to have any qualms about shooting you down. And in fact, the fifth item on her list of do's and don'ts for guys was, you know, if I reject you, that's your problem. So don't be a bitch about it. So, you know, basically she can't lose. Whatever happens in the encounter, it's either because it fails either because the guy was a loser from the beginning, or because he simply didn't measure up to her standards, and it's always his fault, and he's always going to have to just deal with it. And I thought, like, there's a lot of things to talk about here, but there's no recognition on her part that the do's and don'ts she gives to guys are things that a lot of women do too. Ghosting people, seeming interested at the beginning and then fading out, you know, after a few days and then fading back in. A lot of weird texting with no real commitment, no actual in-person date, very high expectations for the other person, but not a lot of interest in giving of yourself. I mean, all the things that her number one is the guy he better be single. You know, he better not be playing around with 4 or 5 women at the same time, trying to decide which one he might seriously pursue, because that's not fair. Well, I agree with her. That isn't fair. If you're dating and you think you're dating somebody who's interested in you, it turns out he's been dating a whole bunch of other women, or he's married or whatever. But women do that all the time as well. And there's absolutely no recognition of that on her part. And also there's no recognition on her part that, you know, that men, like, she thinks that men should jump through all the hoops and that's just the way it is. But women are perfect the way they are. At least she and her friends are. She talks a lot about Thotianas, which a term I'd never heard before. So she's not saying all women are great. There are these Thotianas for whom she has nothing but contempt. But she and her friends, ambitious women who are doing things in the world, they don't have to change at all. And the men will have to pursue them and show that they're good enough to be taken seriously. It's
not just ambitious. They're also, all of her friends are pretty.
Yeah.
And that lets you know she only associates with the pretty people. No shallowness here.
Yeah.
No vanity here. I mean, she got a lot of things right, actually. You know, men have failed themselves. But what she doesn't know is that the main way that men fail themselves is tolerating.
Uh-oh, we lost Paul.
Uh-oh, he's being censored. The main reason is that men tolerate that crap, and Paul's exactly right.
Yeah.
The outrageous conduct.
Uh-oh. Yes, the censors are active tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they're active tonight. Am I back?
You're back.
Back now.
Oh, more about Lahren the Karen.
Very good.
Aside, and guys, the links below, if you want to listen to the screed she did, the rant that she did, it's basically a 15-minute Taylor Swift song. So if you got 15 minutes of your life that you were willing to throw away and never get back, you can listen to it. But basically what she does is everything Tom and Janice just said. And then on top of that, there's got to be this big measure of hypocrisy. She talked about men making plans and men making commitments and men being available. Well, according to what I read, she dumped her last boyfriend because she wasn't ready to settle down.
How about that?
Tommy Lahren still wants a few more turns on the cock carousel before she hits the wall, and then we'll be out here bemoaning in another video on Facebook about, oh my God, where are all the good men now? And it won't be like this most recent rant. It'll be like all the wonderful men have just disappeared. And no, Tommy, when that point in your life comes, when you've hit the wall and you don't have those looks anymore, and men aren't sitting up and begging like this just for crumbs of your attention, and oh my God, the chance to sleep with you, they would just die for that. Yes, when all that passes, and it will pass, you'll be on Facebook moaning and pissing about what you think you're owed from all the men you fucking rejected the last 20 years of your life. Guess what? Guess who won't be buying it? The very men you're criticizing now.
Yeah. Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
There was a hilarious moment near the beginning of her rant where she says, my mom says, maybe it's just the guys in Los Angeles. And she says, no, it's not. It's not just the guys in Los Angeles. It's the guys in, and she lists all these different places. I can't remember all the different states. And it was
She said, quite frankly,
Florida.
quite frankly, I think they are trash all over this country.
Yeah, that's it.
She was talking about men.
Thank you.
They're trash all over this country.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I that made me laugh because it sounded as if she'd gone to all these places, you know, looking for men and had been disappointed in
Looking for love in all the wrong places. Oh, Tommy Lahren, she doesn't have enough choices. Oh my God.
I thought the actual, you know, those 5 points, okay, they were all right. Although I do call BS on the one where she says, you don't even have to make a lot of money.
Right. Did you see the rock that was on her hand from her engagement?
Yeah.
Nice pear-shaped VS1, I'm guessing, about
50K. 50K.
Yeah. According to that report, it cost something like $50,000. And I mean, that's
credit, she gave it back.
I'm glad she did that. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, that poor man, who seemed, you know, perfectly eligible, Brandon Frick, I think his name was, you know, beautiful guy, going to run for Congress, I think. And anyway, you know, whatever. But to think that you would allow a man and presumably also encourage him to go in hawk $50,000 when obviously he doesn't have that kind of money. It sounds to me like he's just starting up as an entrepreneur. And I mean, that is outrageous. Like, that's a scary woman. And he's escaped, I think, from a very dangerous situation. This is the kind of woman who would blithely get her guy deeply, deeply, deeply in debt and then divorce him. In this case, she just maybe broke his heart by calling off the engagement. He's really lucky. This is a scary woman. This is a woman who thinks that she's difficult and she deserves to be. This is a woman who has no idea, it seems, is not even the least bit interested in finding out what high value men want in a woman. It's utterly unbelievable to me that she hasn't met some high value men already. And like, I thought it was really the most interesting thing of all to me was that statement that she made a number of times, that she and all her girlfriends who are pretty and, you know, that they have a lot going for them. And how she defined having a lot going for them was that they all had jobs, they were really interested, they had careers, and, you know, they were working really hard at their careers, and they were ambitious, and they were on the way up, and everything. And I thought, you know, like, I'm not convinced that high value men, or any men, whatever that means, are interested particularly. For some men, yeah, it might be a plus to have a woman who's very ambitious and is really wedded to her career. For a lot of men, it might be neither a plus nor a minus. And for a good portion of men, I would think it actually might be a minus. She seemed to think that that meant that the relationship would have real substance, you know, that this is going to be a relationship that's going to work because you've got this super ambitious woman. A lot of men are probably going to think that's like a super red flag. That means I'm going to have a partner who it always puts her career first, and we're going to have conflict over that. A lot of guys, you know, want to have children. Does that mean that's going to get put off for year after year because her career is really important and she doesn't want to sacrifice it? A lot of guys have other priorities in the woman that they want to spend time with. They want somebody who's interested in, I'm assuming, I mean, you guys tell me because you know better than I, but from what I've gathered, guys are not that interested in having an ambitious woman as a partner. They want somebody who is, well, I'd say one, easy to get along with is one thing, which this woman does not seem to be. You know, they want somebody who isn't a heck of a lot of work. They want somebody who wants to please them and is full of loving kindness and generosity, which I would say is not really a particular characteristic, at least of Lahren as she presents herself in this video. You know, so they, you know, a lot of men want a woman who's gonna do things for them, not necessarily cook and clean, but a lot of guys are kind of into that. They'd like to have a woman who can cook or is interested in cooking, making them feel good as men, those kinds of things. She doesn't even mention any of that stuff. She thinks because she's ambitious and has a career that makes her a valuable mate. And wow, I think that's a big misunderstanding right there.
Yep. Listen to this quote. I have high standards and high expectations and have worked hard. Do you want to know why? We have worked for those. We have worked hard. We are successful. We take care of ourselves and we try to look cute. That's why we have the ability to be what you call difficult.
This is why I pointed out her rant was like a Taylor Swift song, because she sounds like she's about 14.
Yeah. And she sounds like she's an angry woman who just got jilted. I mean, that's what it sounded like to me. You know, she's going to give that guy the, you know, the.
Well, and she's still on it. You know, she came into the comments. There were, if you look at the comments of the Facebook post by her, there's a lot of guys, and I recognize some of the names. There's a lot of guys in the comments there giving her a little bit of pushback over everything she was saying. And she pounced into that, of course. And guess what? I don't have it in front of me, but I can paraphrase very accurately. All you guys that are posting negative comments aren't real men.
Of course. Of course.
Right to the shaming.
Here's the question.
Right. No substance. I don't get, that's the thing that bothered me. Beginning, as soon as her mouth opened, following the whole thing, seeing her act out in the comments, not an adult anywhere.
Yes.
In any of this. It's a child all the way through.
Here's the question. What % of women are like Tomi Lahren?
Lots.
I think
more attractive, the more likely that it is.
That's true.
When they're very attractive, I mean, and look, I get it. You know, like Tom, you were pointing to earlier. You go through life, guys begging, literally willing to sacrifice their souls just to sit next to you.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, can you imagine how much that must go to your head? What kind of character you would have to be able to resist that and maintain some humility in life? When guys are saying basically, here, baby, I'll cut off my left arm if you have dinner with me.
Yep.
I'm sure it's very difficult to you know, just remain somewhat humble in life.
Correct.
She is a very attractive girl. But there's billions. I mean, you could take a stamp out of Fox News commentators, the women that work Fox News. She fits right in there.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
Bleach blonde, the whole 9 yards, and attractive in that way.
Yes.
But the more she talks, the less attractive she is to me.
And in some ways, I think these women are like role models, and women are picking that up along with the media blitz that says, you know, you're special, you're wonderful, you don't need to change, and men are fucked up. You know, it's like that whole narrative has just been pumped into their brains. And it's like, really, the question is, where are the good women? You know, I mean, to me, that's what she was doing. She was indicting women with this rant, to me.
Absolutely.
She was indicting women. It wasn't an indictment of men. It was an indictment of women.
Because you know, and the problem is that she's giving all this advice, you know, some of which it was okay. I mean, it's true. If you're a man and you're interested in a woman, you don't want to just be texting her all the time in the middle of the night or whatever. You should arrange for a date. I forget what were the other things. You should be single. You should have a plan. You should actually ask the woman out. Don't just fool around texting her women don't want a pen pal. That was her second point. Third, oh yeah, value, right? Be consistent and don't be a bitch. Okay, yeah, I can see all those points to a certain degree, but there's two major things that stood out for me. One, she shows certainly no comprehension of why some guys are playing the field and are hesitant to make a commitment. Absolutely no comprehension of the role of feminism, the role of the legal system, all of that. The guy that's got is able to buy her the $50,000 engagement ring without putting it on his Amex card, who can actually buy it outright. He knows that if he hooks up with the wrong woman, she can destroy him, or he should know that. And does she not realize what an impact that has on a guy who's aware of the power that women have in relationships? No. Come on, at least admit that. Show some empathy for the situation that men are in. And even worse is that I don't think she's honest about how tricksy women are in these relationships. I was just talking to a friend of mine just last week, and he mentioned that he's found that not only are women not the least bit interested in dealing with men who have any problems at all and admit to those problems, despite the constant show your vulnerability, show that you can cry, show that you have feelings. Women don't want to see men's vulnerability. They don't want to hear about their feelings and their troubles. But not only that, we know that. Not only that, he said, even the minute the guy says, yeah, I'm available tomorrow for coffee, and I'd like to take you out for coffee, a lot of women become markedly less interested right at that moment. So the moment that they have the guy, they're already looking around to see if they can find somebody better. So the very thing she's complaining about in the men is something that women themselves are manifesting in spades. So, yes. And so not to recognize that this is a two-way problem, that this has to do with the dating world and how it is, and that the dating world actually favors women because they are the ones that by and large who get to choose. Not recognizing any of that stuff just shows that she has zero empathy or even any kind of sophisticated understanding of what it's like to be a youngish guy today on the dating market.
Yep. It's a one-sided story.
Yeah.
It's completely one-sided. And, if we can go back just a little bit, what guys want is a partner. The men I've seen, what they want is a partner. They want someone they can share with, they can battle it out with, they can decide together, they can split things down the middle with. And that's what guys want. They don't want some princess, they want a partner. Mm-hmm. And boy, she doesn't look like a
universal. Nobody wants, and women like Lahren do not get this. Nobody wants, men will tolerate princesses in order to be with a woman and to get sex. They'll tolerate it. Nobody wants a princess. Nobody respects a princess. You cannot be a princess and have a man's respect. You just can't. Even the ones that claim that they respect you are lying through their teeth. Mm-hmm. They're doing is avoiding abandonment and avoiding loss of love. Men loathe princesses. They find them disgusting. And Tomi Lahren is a princess. Mm-hmm. It's written all over her. And I think it's important that we always remember in this particular lesson, because what I see in the men's movement, a lot of is that every time there's a conservative woman who makes commentary, especially if she's really attractive, the guys are like, oh man, she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. She's wonderful. She's wonderful. Yeah. Well, Richard from the comments said, trad thought gonna thought. And he is absolutely right.
A little harsh, but
a little harsh. But listen, what he gave wasn't his honest reaction, what really went through his mind.
Yeah.
When it comes to encountering, and I'm sure that Tomi Lahren would say, okay, well, he's not a real man, whatever. Right. Yeah. Well, guess what?
Yeah, that's
At least he's shown enough respect to tell the
to
truth.
tell the truth. And that was the scariest and most telling moment for me listening to her rant, was when near the end she says, "There's no way in hell that I'm ever going to chase a man, and no woman should ever chase a man." Well, what does she mean by chase? She seems to mean put in the effort, accommodate the man, conciliate the man, figure out what he wants, be the one who meets him halfway. No, she wants to be the princess who is pursued, who has the carpet laid out before her, beneath her feet. She wants to be the one that everything is done for. This is not a woman who's willing to be a partner. This is
He's
a woman.
the only chaser.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Here's the quote. "There's not one single man on earth who's worth making a woman feel like she is not good enough."
Yeah,
What?
I know. I mean,
What?
but the men are supposed to feel, they're supposed to accept that
Yes,
in most
but-
cases they're not good enough, and that they could be lectured and
Oh, she
shamed and
revels
talked
in
down
that,
to.
yeah. Imbalance. She loves that imbalance.
But
Yeah.
the implication is that, that men try and make women feel not good enough. It's like, what are you talking
Of course,
about?
no, they don't.
Of
And,
course not.
Yeah.
They're going to put her on a pedestal.
There is some small element of guys, some of them red pill, who practice game and certainly toss out negatives. But it's like what Janice said, that the moment a guy shows interest, some women, that their interest reduces immediately.
Right, exactly.
The moment
Yeah,
he leans into it, she's leaning back.
yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of guys find, honestly, look, don't get mad at me. I don't make this stuff up. I just sort of call it like I see it. But women who are treated indifferently by men, there's an old expression that men learn: the difference that makes the difference is indifference.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and indifference does attract women. She's full of it.
Yep.
When it comes to that, she simply doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yes.
Mhm.
And you could hear at her, she's pouting because somebody isn't paying attention to her. That's what I'm reading into that.
Yeah.
And so what does she come out with? Oh, if you're going to ignore me, I'm going to lose interest. Nuh-uh. I'm not buying it. You're interested. And he's out there right now ignoring your ass. And it's working.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Paul, because I thought
No.
that too, when she says, yeah, if you, whatever it was, he cools off. First of all, he blows hot, and he's, a couple days, he seems to be really interested. Then all of a sudden he disappears for a couple days. And she says, by the time you come back, I'm not interested anymore. No way. It's not actually
right.
true.
She is salivating.
Yeah. I mean,
geez.
like to give her due, which she doesn't deserve much, but it is true that the dating game, I mean, I wouldn't want to play it. It's a world of hurt.
Jeez.
It's horrible. I think for both men and women, it makes you feel awful. It's awful to be rejected. It's awful to be the one who has to reject somebody who's really nice, but from the first date that it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, the whole thing it is terrible, and I wouldn't actually recommend it to anybody. The thing where you hook up on some dating app or whatever, it just sounds awful. But this notion that it's all men's fault, and if men just follow these 5 rules to try, to be like puppy dogs with their tongues hanging out for the woman, that's going to lead to some sort of success. No way. And especially when the woman says, you don't have to have a great job, you don't have to make a lot of money. Please, at least be honest about what your demands are.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure by next week she'll be dating a cab driver because money doesn't matter to Tommy.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a connection with narcissism here. And if you look at the DSM and look at the things they say, well, in order to be considered a narcissist, you have to X, Y, Z. They go down this long list. A lot of them match up with what we're talking about tonight.
Yep. Absolutely. And there is a cultural narcissism. We breed narcissism into women.
Yes, exactly, Paul.
It's not fair. I do consider it a form, kind of a subtle misogyny, that you cripple people. You cripple them by removing their agency. You remove their accountability. You deify them based on what they look like.
Yeah.
And perpetuate that. And I mean, men are brutal about enforcing that deification with each other. You better treat her that way too, or you may have guys that want to, get in your face. It is a sad, sick state of affairs, but Tommy Lahren is acting like what I think the West produces women to act like.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That was my take on it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're right. It's a difficult situation because the culture does actually, I mean, it makes it difficult. You have to be a very strong woman if you're as gorgeous as Tommy Lahren to withstand all those messages.
And think about Cassie J.
Yeah, I was going to say not every woman is Cassie J.
She's beautiful, but she is the most beautiful person, humble, able to listen. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, just night and day between
10 million that way.
Really, really.
That is not.
She is angelic.
Yeah.
But it can be done. There are women out there like that.
But they have to make that choice. And
it's got to be hard. I mean, it's got to be tough for her because it's hard to imagine as a man what it's like to be, a pretty woman, to have everyone jump all over for anything, And Cassie J obviously had that.
I was going to say, I'm not cutting her too much slack. I mean, after all, you look at this, and I did it.
Yeah, I know exactly. Paul did it. He rose above his beauty.
I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not go too far. Like, I think there are worse things than being a drop dead gorgeous young woman. But
yes,
it's
there
not,
probably are.
We won't play too many violins for the incredible courage that it takes to rise above being beautiful. But it's kind of a messed up culture. And it might even be worth saying that for a lot of guys, maybe it's not worth going after a Tommy Lahren. She sounds like a real disaster.
How did that song go? Never make a pretty woman your wife. Wait, I'll bring that song back.
Yep. Hey, well, and no, it wouldn't be worth it on any count.
Red pill magic.
Anybody who is so condescending toward a whole class of people can't be a very good human being.
Yeah. Imagine trying to convince this woman that you're not trash like she considers most men to be. Wow, that's a good way to start.
Except whoever it is she's really pining for right now and is acting out with this video on all her frustrations.
Oh boy.
Yeah, could be.
Come on, Tommy. Confess. You got it bad for somebody and they don't want you.
She's got some growing to do. Maybe she will grow up. Who knows?
Maybe somebody got to know her and said, no, thanks,
I think that's what happened.
Well, do we want to read these comments?
Yeah, let's look at their comments.
Let's see. Mark says, high value women like Tommy are a check that can't be cashed, so why bother? Is it worth it for a man to even look for a high value woman anymore?
Right.
Well, and I think to me it's worth saying that really depends on what you value. If you strictly value physical appearance, you'll get whatever comes with that. Especially if you're not, applying any standards to any other aspect of who she is. But if you value somebody that can suit up and act like an adult in a partnership, if that's what you value, then yeah, I think it's worth it. I'd do it again. Rocco says men go for looks initially. That is absolutely correct. A woman's personality keeps men around. Tommy is
good
very
point.
attractive. So why are men not sticking around?
Aha. That's a good point. You know, the whole attractiveness thing is important because that is precarious manhood right there. Men gain status by being able to attract an attractive woman. You know, the very prettiest woman means you are higher in status. And that's linked into our testosterone. It's linked into our whole body car, you know? So yeah, Rocco, that's right. Men are first attracted to that physicality.
Yep.
Mm.
Dennis he says, I'm a little behind, but what are the 5 points that Janice thinks 4 are good?
Did you think 4 were good?
Well, they were okay for as far as they went. 1 was be single. 2 was, you know, make a commitment, don't just text. 3 was value. 4 was, what was 4?
Consistency.
Be consistent. Yeah, don't blow hot and cold. That one, I don't know about that. A little bit of blowing hot and cold might not be so bad. And the 5th one was don't be a bitch. Well, that's true as well. You know, if you end up being rejected, there's no point.
I can't get over the irony of the words "don't be a bitch."
Don't be a bitch.
Laren's mouth in that talk. Okay, yeah, boy, no dissonance there. Brian says, chivalry is dead and women killed it. So now there is an opportunity for women to try and exercise their own female righteousness to repair the significant damage women have done to male trust and relationships.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
But are they even aware of that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. But I agree.
Not generally.
Yeah. I agree, Brian.
We know we can count them on one hand. The ones I bet between me and Tom, as far as the women we know, we could count on one hand women who are actually like that.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
It is sad.
Okay, Mark says Tommy is a victim of her own hypergamy. The paradox of choice.
Yeah.
Male only or female own group preference.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good point, Mark.
I think she is. Hypergamy, I've seen it burn all kinds of women. I've seen women, not that I personally care, but women who, you know, time and gravity has not been kind to, who are still walking around waiting for Mr. Goodbody to show up with his fat wallet. I see it all the time. And I'm like, damn, girl, you need to check the mirror.
Yeah.
Because the use by date is getting
Yeah.
Use by date. Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Female on groom preference, the damage done by the dating game was one that feminists created, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know about that. I think that gynocentrism had the dating game rigged a long time before feminists did. But that's just me.
Yeah, but feminism took it and put it on steroids.
Yes, at least pre-feminism, there was this somewhat of a common expectation of men being honored for what they contributed.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And there was a give and take, and it was expected that both people would have to change and do this or that. I mean, gosh, my parents growing up, they had a relationship, you know?
Yeah. And the idea that women should try to please their men.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Like that, I think has become it's like that's a dirty phrase.
Exactly.
It's disgusting. It's misogynistic. You know, women go apoplectic over this idea. Yeah, it's really weird that, you know, that there's something offensive about the idea that a woman should try to please her man and should try to make him happy and should maybe make changes in her personality or the way she responds to things, or even work on, you know, her looks or whatever it happens to be in order to keep her guy happy or to make him happy. That whole idea that a woman should try to, I mean, obviously he should try to make her happy too, but nobody explodes in fury at the idea that a man, whether he's a husband or a partner or just a guy going out on a date, that he should try to make his woman happy by giving her compliments, by being a gentleman, by, you know, opening the door for her, whatever it happens to be, or just by being a good, dependable guy. But the idea that the woman should do it too,
that's what a good relationship is made of, is both people wanting to please the other. And good stuff is just like bad stuff. The more you do it, the more it builds up like a snowball. If bad stuff, someone says you're an asshole, I know you're an asshole, and then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Good stuff, you do something nice for your partner, they do something nice back for you, and that builds up. And that's what they're negating.
No, ladies, letting your man do something nice for you isn't the same thing as doing something nice for him.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that is what feminism has changed. I think it's and you know, this woman, Tommy Lahren, says she's not a feminist. But what's the difference between her attitude and that of a feminist? It's hostile, it's demanding, it's aggressive, it's entitled,
it's a one-way valve.
Yeah, it's
the difference is that feminists are more honest.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Oh
no, I think maybe they're more delusional.
Well, they're honest in the respect that they think they're owed everything. I mean, and it's men that need to give it to them, even though they don't need us. But that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Reinhard wants to know, does Tommy get the puta?
Oh, I think she does.
And he follows it up to say Tommy is the puta. Oh, well.
I think she gets the puta.
She gets the puta.
She gets it.
And one final one here. Spencer says, can you talk about why it appears women demand husband behavior from strange men, but men cannot demand wife behavior from strange women, and why this demand from women for men to man up and do your civic duty, but men don't demand, since most don't act entitled to do the same?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, you don't hear men saying woman up.
No, you sure don't.
Right,
no.
right.
Yeah.
And you don't see the family courts expecting the woman to satisfy the man's sexual needs, but you do see the family courts expecting the man will provide her financial needs.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
How about them apples?
And to answer your question directly, Spencer, why is it the double standard? It's because of gynocentrism.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
You can shame men into doing anything. Everybody can shame men. Women can shame them. Men can shame them. Hell, children can shame grown men. Get them to do stuff. It's okay.
True.
But man, you try to shame a woman publicly and say, why don't you act like a real woman? Man, you better kiss your career goodbye or something like that.
Yeah. It's because feminists have very effectively rewritten the whole gender order so that we can have public conversations constantly, and we do, about what men owe women.
Yes.
And men owe women all sorts of things: respect for their career abilities, concern for their vulnerabilities, empathy. Active, empathy for their fears and their pains, protection, all of that. And we cannot have a public conversation about what women owe men. Absolutely. It is completely off limits because women don't owe men anything.
Yep.
And that's where we've come to. It's amazing to me that is the public conversation.
It's crazy.
Guess what, ladies? If you're worth 2 cents, you do owe men things, and vice versa.
Yeah. And on that note,
I guess we'll end by saying men
are good.
It's only 2 words, and we got
it up. Couldn't do it.
We need a formula.
So many permutations on that, and we've gotten a lot so far.
Always messed it up. Yeah.
And let's just toss in here. It looks like tomorrow's the big day for Regarding Men, so look for certainly from me, for a recorded Regarding Men that we recently did will be coming out tomorrow. It will be on my YouTube channel and Tom's and Janice's, and I will also post it here on Facebook on the Regarding Men page and on my personal page.
We're starting a community.
Yeah, you don't want to miss that. Anyway,
We've been working on it for a while, and it's time for it to hatch.
Tommy, Lahren, congrats on the Flying Buddha. And with that, we'll see you guys.
All right, y'all
Have a
take
great
care.
week.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.